Hello, I'm going to show you how to crochet this cup cozy. It works up really fast, so you can make it as a last minute gift, and it's made by using Alpine stitch. I'm using 100% cotton yarn for this project, and it's size 4 yarn. But this pattern is made to measure, so you can use different types of yarn, and I have got a 5mm crochet hook. We'll start by making a slip knot, and we will make a chain which will be long enough to go around the bottom part of your cup. Because you're making it made to measure, I'm not going to give you exact stitch counts. You just need to have your chain in even number of stitches, and it needs to go all the way around the bottom part of your cup. My chain is 30 stitches long, but you don't have to make it 30 stitches. It all depends on your yarn and your tension. So let's just measure this chain. It needs to just go around along the bottom. It is almost going to feel a little bit too tight, but it won't be. It will stretch just a little bit. That's perfect. And now we are going to go back into the very first chain and making a slip stitch into that very first chain to create a circle. So just go into your chain, pull up a loop and pull through, and that will be your circle for the bottom of your cup cozy. So chain 1, and that doesn't count as a stitch. Work into the same chain and each of the following chains, and make 1 single crochet into each chain all the way around. Just be careful that you don't accidentally twist your circle whilst you're doing that. When you get to the end of your round, just finish off your last single crochet. Make sure your circle hasn't twisted, and now go on the top of that very first chain and slip stitch to close this circle. Now let's just measure to make sure that our circle is the correct size for our cup, because it's a lot easier to undo this little bit of work rather than when you've gone halfway up. So it needs to just go over the bottom part of your cup, but it needs to stay there and not move up too far along your cup. That's perfect. We can carry on now. Next, we're making another foundation round before we start the pattern, and this round will be a double crochet round. So let's first chain 3, and that chain 3 counts as your very first double crochet stitch. Now going into the next stitch, yarn over and go into stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a double crochet. And you will be making double crochet stitches into every stitch from the round below. So like I said before, there isn't an exact count for this work because you're making it made to measure, but you just have to make sure you have got even number of stitches for this pattern to work. So it's probably a good idea at this point to just count your double crochet posts and make sure you do have even number of stitches. When you get to the end of the round, we're going to slip stitch on the top of that beginning chain 3. So get your hook through your last chain and pull through, and that's the second row done. Chain 1 to start your next round, but this does not count as a stitch, so your single crochet will go back into that very first stitch where you finished your last round. And now we're going to make single crochet stitches all the way around. This is last round before we start the textured pattern. Repeat. To finish this round, just slip stitch on the top of the very first stitch, chain 3, and this counts as your double crochet stitch. Our next stitch will be treble, so yarn over twice, and we will be working not onto this first stitch, but the second one will go in from behind the stitch, go out in the front, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is front post treble. Next stitch is a standard double crochet stitch, and you'll see you've skipped a stitch behind, and now again front post treble, so yarn over twice, go in from behind the front of the next post, and you will be skipping that stitch behind and making a double crochet stitch. So again, front post treble crochet followed by a double crochet. Repeat this all the way around. So we'll finish off with a front post treble stitch, and then find the top of that first chain 3 what you made, and slip stitch through the very last chain to finish this round. Chain 1, and then turn your work around, and you'll be working in opposite direction, so you can flip your work inside out completely if you find that easier. And now we are making single crochet stitches into every stitch all the way around, so just one single crochet into every stitch, not skipping anything, and go all the way around. When you get to the end, again we're going to slip stitch on the top of that very first single crochet to close this round. And now flip your work right way around again, carry on with your Alpine stitch pattern. Next round will start with the front post treble, so you can see where your previous treble is, and you have to make your first treble just over the space where you already are. So we are making them in a staggered pattern. So chain 1 just to get a little bit of a height, yarn over twice, and then go through underneath that stitch where you kind of like over are currently. Then into next single crochet, make a double crochet, then yarn over twice again to make your next front post treble, and that will be around the double crochet from 2 rows below. So your double crochet this time goes into the previous row, which is a single crochet row, and your front post trebles will go into the row below, into those double crochet stitches which you made. You change in between making a double crochet and a front post treble crochet all the way around till the end, and this round will finish with a double crochet, and you will then join with a slip stitch on the top of the very first front post treble, not the chain 1 but the front post treble, so it just pulls it in a little bit. Chain 1, turn your work around again, and we will be doing the next round in the opposite direction, just making single crochet stitches into each stitch from the round below. When you get to the end of the round, finish with slip stitch on the top of the very first chain 1, and then turn your work right way around again. Now this time we're going to do a double crochet stitch first, followed by front post treble, So you're going to make your chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet. And now go past that front post treble and find your next double crochet, and that one is the one we're going to do next. Front post treble around and skip the stitch from behind and do a double crochet into the next single crochet stitch, and again followed by a treble around the post, and then a double crochet stitch into the next stitch, and we will be repeating this all the way around again. Finish your round joining with a slip stitch on the top of the chain 3, and you may notice that where you're doing your joins it looks just a little bit different to the rest of the pattern, but you really won't be noticing that join a lot by the time you've finished the whole of your work. Now turn your work around again. Next round will be single crochet in the opposite direction, and this will be your pattern repeat now. One round of single crochet followed by the double and front post double crochet alternative rounds. So one round will start with a treble and the next round will start with a double, and you will be working like that until your work is tall enough to fit your cup. Now let's pretend that I don't want to make this any taller, and we will be making the final round which will match the very first round we did. So we're going to chain 1 and making a single crochet into each stitch all the way around, but we are doing it with the right side of your work facing you this time for the very final round. You will notice that the top of your cup cozy is just a slightly little bit looser than the bottom, because at the bottom we have also got this chain which holds things tight, and the top part will stretch just that little bit further to fit your cup into it, because most cups are slightly wider at the top, but equally it's not going to move anywhere as that chain at the bottom is holding it in place, which is exactly what we want. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching.